All right, so for this video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about adding specialized pages for content display, okay? So in the previous video, we looked at some of the other self-service solutions, page templates for rapidly generating pages, site templates for rapidly generating sites, and we also looked at the asset publisher for streamlining the content publication process, okay? What we haven't talked too much about here is the ability to create new pages and what has actually changed in the way we do navigation menus in Liferay 7.1, okay? So we're gonna talk about some of those things here and also look at the ability to create what I'm calling a content display page. It is a specialized content display page where what we can do is we can actually map web content structures to fragments to display for our users, okay? All right, so let's start by looking at some of the page changes for our navigation, okay? All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys. This is gonna be helpful to visualize. I left off here for the Livingston Life, as you can see. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the menu. And I'm gonna go back to the Livingston Hotels and Resorts. So in the build section here, I'm gonna click on pages, all right? And we'll see that this already looks a little bit different for our pages, okay? I can add child pages for these different pages here, and it's gonna show up here on the column. So this is gonna give me a new view of my different pages, okay? But what's most important here to understand for some of the differences is actually the addition of the navigation menus for Liferay 7.1, okay? The navigation menu section here allows me to actually create multiple new navigations that I can use on different pages. I can use at different parts of the pages, okay? I can have a default nav menu. I can add new nav menus here as well. And anytime I have the navigation widget available, whether it's embedded through something like the theme or added to a page manually, I can actually provide those specific sets of pages there, okay? Okay, so on our normal pages, we may have the main navigation up top, we may have a special navigation at the bottom and the footer, and there may be some pages where we want to specifically highlight certain pages as well, okay? We can actually, instead of doing a lot of development work, we can just create new navigation menus and determine which pages will go into the navigation menu. Okay, so for example, if I look at the default, if I click on options, you'll see here I can mark as different kinds of navigation. I can click edit here and I'll see my pages, okay? And I can add new pages here. I can move them around, okay? I can do child pages here. So I basically have full control over how I want to present whatever pages I create in my site, okay? So keep that in mind as you are looking to create new sites in Liferay 7.1. So now let's go ahead and talk about our display pages. These are content display pages. And what these allow us to do is these allow us to set up an experience for our users where they can, let's say, go to a page that has an asset publisher, since we just had that discussion, okay? So let's say for the news, and they can see the asset publisher showing all of the latest news. They can click on it, and what it will do is it will bring them to a specialized page that is designed to give them a good experience in viewing or reading whatever content they have selected, okay? Now, practically speaking, right now, this is just a mapping between web content and fragments, and we're looking to update this in the future to be able to do this kind of mapping for some of the other assets as well, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and look at an example of doing this for our news structure by first adding an asset publisher to our page and then making sure to map it for the structure that we've already created in a previous section. All right, so go ahead and make sure you are, again, back here. If you didn't follow along with me, go ahead and just click on Livingston Hotels and Resorts at the top left so that we can come to our front page here, okay? All right, now on our default welcome page, let's go ahead and add an asset publisher right under the banner and above our featured hotels. Okay, so go ahead and click on add, widgets, highlighted, and go ahead and drag an asset publisher underneath our banner, okay? This is just a default asset publisher showing us everything that we've created, nothing fancy going on here, all right? And we want to go ahead and configure this asset publisher. So click on options at the very, very top of the asset publisher and configuration. Okay. Now for this guy, as I mentioned, when we click on asset selection, okay, we can not only select which asset we want to display, but we can get more specific with filtering, or in the case of web content and documents, we can choose the structures or document types, okay? So for the asset type section here under source, if you don't already see this open, just go ahead and open that up. Okay, click on the drop down that says any, and find the web content article, which can be found at the bottom of the list or towards the bottom of the list. Okay. And what you'll see after that is we can now be even more specific. We can say, hey, not only do I want to display web content, but I want to specifically display news. Okay. So go ahead and choose news here. All right. And that will give us the kind of filtering that we need. Now, before we say this, let's go ahead and click on the display settings. Okay. And we want to go ahead and change some of the information here for how we display our news. Okay. So let's go ahead and for the display template, change this from abstracts to title list. Okay, so you can do that there. Just sort of simplifies this for us. All right, for the asset link behavior, and this is important, for the asset link behavior changes from show full content to view in context. Okay. Now this is important because once we set up this mapping, basically this is determining what happens when a user clicks on the article. If we just have show full article, when they click on it, it will just show it on the page, whereas view in context will direct them to a specialized display page that we can set. Okay. All right. So that's the most important here. We can go ahead and click save, and we can close this here. Okay. And we'll see that there are no current results yet for news. We'll go ahead and add that a little bit later. All right. So that's the first step to setting this up. We have an asset publisher that we have configured to make sure that we can redirect a user to another specialized page. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and open up the menu for this next section here. And under build, go ahead and click on page fragments. Let's go ahead and click on the options menu next to collections and click on import here. We're going to add in some specialized fragments here that we can use. So go ahead and click on select files. Okay. Navigate to your exercises folder, and we're going to go to the fourth section. So again, that should be C Liferay or user home Liferay. Okay. The LRU REL content management exercises folder. And we can go ahead and find the fourth section here called self-service solutions, where we can select the display page fragments.zip. Okay, go ahead and open that up and click import and exit out of that. Okay. All right, so we have a special news fragment here. We can go ahead and click on the news fragment. Okay. You'll see that we have a particular design here, and we can actually map some things here for the actual article. Okay. And let's go ahead and click publish. Okay, so now that we have this fragment available, we can go ahead and start mapping these pieces together. Okay, so let's start by creating our new display page. Okay, under build, go ahead and click pages. All right. Go ahead and click on the display pages tab here. All right, and we're going to add a new display page for our news content. So click add news content and submit. Okay. All right, so we see our fragments available here. Go ahead and open up the display page fragments. Okay, and click add for the news fragment on the page. All right, now we can also click on this mapping tab. You'll see this here. Okay, and we can go ahead and use this to map the fragment to a structure that we have. As you can imagine, it's going to be our news structure. So click on select for mapping. All right, we have the asset type set to web content article, and subtype is going to show us our structures. Go ahead and choose news and click save. So now we can go ahead and map some of these sections here. So at the very top here, you'll see map article title here. Go ahead and click on that and click map. Okay. And we'll see our structure fields here. Okay. So we'll go ahead and choose article title. Okay. So we've just mapped that there. All right. For the map byline section, go ahead and click on that and do map again and choose the byline field. Okay. You have map posted on here. Go ahead and click on that and click map. Find the posted on field. All right, and then we have our 3 other sections here. So we have map image here. Go ahead and click on that. Click map. Okay. And go ahead and choose the story image field. Okay. Map lead here and map. Okay. Choose the lead field there. And finally, we have the map content here. We can go ahead and click on that, click map, and we can choose the content field at the very bottom of the list. Okay. All right, so this is really cool. What this has essentially allowed us to do is use a fragment as the template for the structure. Okay. So that's why we kept the template blank for our structure, because our structures need a template. All right. So we just made it blank there. And now we're using this fragment and mapping our structure fields to this fragment. So when someone clicks on a new news article, it's going to be very nicely presented to them and displayed on a special page where we've mapped the structure to a fragment. Okay. So this is a cool new feature in 7.1 as well. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead and click on publish for our new display page. Okay. All right, so now let's click on the options menu for our new display page. Click on default. All right, and this will be the default display page for our news content articles. All right, so now let's go ahead and add a new news content article and see how all of this fits together. Now that we've set up the asset publisher for the redirect, we've created our page, we mapped the structure to our fragment. Now we can add an actual news article and see how nicely this is presented to our users. Okay, so click on the menu, open that up. All right, in the content section here, click on web content. All right, and let's add a new news article. So click on add news. Okay, for the title, we're going to go ahead and do new GM driven by desire to bring hotel back to its roots, for both the title and the article title. So I'm just copying and pasting that here. Okay. All right, for the byline, we can go ahead and choose, or not choose, type Natalia Michaels. Okay. She is one of the Livingston copywriters. Okay, so this is something that she would be doing, generally speaking. All right, for posted on, we can go ahead and choose today's date. All right, so that's going to be June 20th for me. And whenever you're watching this, you can choose whatever date is working for you. All right, for the story image, you can go ahead and click on select. We'll do select file. Okay, and in the 4th chapter, exercise steps, we can go ahead and choose the lounge.jpg. Open that up and click add. Okay. And from there, what we can do is we can type Dan Torrance is bringing fresh ideas to hotel management in the lead field here. All right, and for the content, we're going to go ahead and just copy and paste some content from a text file in our exercises. Okay, so go ahead and open up your Finder or file system browser and navigate to the exercises. Okay, so I'm going to go to Liferay. Okay, the exercises folder and the 4th section here. All right, and I have a news text.txt. Go ahead and open that up. Go ahead and copy this. This is just a bunch of dummy text. Okay, and then I'm going to come back in here and paste it on in. Okay, now this is an HTML editor, which means I can do some formatting if I wanted to, but for now I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as is. Okay. All right, now if I open up display page, you'll see here that I need to go ahead and I can choose the display page here, okay, but it is set as the default for the news article. So we're going to go ahead and work with that. So go ahead and scroll down here and click publish. All right, now that we have our new news article published, we can go ahead and test it all out. Go ahead and click on Go to Site, okay, in the Site Administration panel. We can scroll down to where we see the asset publisher, and we can see a new link to our new news article. Go ahead and click on that. All right, and it's going to bring us right to our new page where our article has been mapped to a new fragment. Okay. All right, so this is a special content display page, okay? And what we can see up top here is this actually has what's called a canonical URL, okay? So it knows how to get here because it has this dash and then the actual name or the ID of the web content title, okay? So you can actually use these links as normal links for anywhere else on the platform. It's going to identify the article, and then it's going to identify the display page for that article and go here, okay? And by making this display page the default for all news articles, we don't need to worry about having to add that display page to every single article. It's just going to be the default. So every time one comes up in the asset publisher, it will be mapped to this page, and we will get a nicely presented set of news, okay? This is going to be good news for those of you who have come from previous versions of Liferay, where we had another way of doing content display pages, and every single article had to be selected for the display page. Okay, now we can just have a default, and we're good to go. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and look at a recap of this here. All right, we can create new navigation menus as we looked at in this section, and we can also specify special web content display pages. And this allows us to map our structures to our fragments and set up a redirect using an asset publisher to a special page where they can view and read the structure being presented through a fragment, okay? So it's a really cool, beautiful way of presenting our structures to users when it is needed in a case like this, where we have news articles and we want to make sure that when they open it up, it's not just all of the structure, it's going to be presented nicely as a fragment, okay? All right, so keep that in mind as you are setting up your self-publishing pages as well, because this works in tandem with the asset publisher. And for the last section of this chapter, what we're going to do is we're going to go and look at how to further refine the presentation of content that is going to be showing up in the asset publisher with application display templates, okay? So stick around and we'll talk about that as the last section of chapter 4.